Okay, good morning everybody. This feels a bit awkward to stand here on the upper ground, but I'll keep this short. How was your weekend? Great. Yeah, sorry about the rain, but we are indoors now, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Is everyone ready to start? Yeah, okay. I'll keep this really short because we have in the morning we have two really amazing talks, and yeah, you never know. Yeah, so you can be the judges of that afterwards. No pressure. So just briefly recap. Yeah, so what happened last week? Looking ahead, what to expect this week and next week. Things are heating up still despite the rain. Then we have a chat with Meri and Sevi, followed by a break, and then we move on to ideation and then validating those ideas. And by 1 o'clock today, you'll have narrowed down ideas in your team, and then right before 1 o'clock we have some info on what happens tomorrow and what happens this afternoon. We have prepared something special for you all. It's not part of like it's not obligatory, but something sweet anyway. Sweet. Yeah, it's not gin. It's Monday. Crying out loud. Helsinki City Museum has made a massive archive of old pictures from Helsinki available. I found them this weekend. I fell in love with the whole repository because so in today's session we focus on how to generate ideas, how to validate them, and this is like the exercise part, the workshop part, but also the talks before that will most likely help you, right? Yeah. Many thanks for the concerns and wish list generation on the wall last Friday. We got, I think, 120 plus sticky notes on the wall, on the ground, all combined. And we compiled them into a slide deck, and it will be updated this evening. So we'll share that on Teams to give you kind of more structure and kind of answer your notes. Okay, just to visualize what to expect this week. So we move from ideating to value creation, validating, prototyping, and then on Friday presenting and reflecting. So think of this as a kind of sprint of some sort. So each of these arrows represents one day. Any questions about this? So this is like really high level schedule. And just to recap again, can you see this in the back? Yes. Okay. And one more. Third week is coming close. Yeah, we are kind of halfway now. So that was my rushed 5-minute presentation. And now it's time to get cozy. So we have Meri Löyttöniemi from Aalto and Sebi Tauchik from Futurize Silicon Fund. Let's have a gentle yet warm hand. All right.
to validate that they hear me. I will step a little bit here, so you will see the slide. Just a second. Okay, so once more, good morning, and my name is Meri Löyttöniemi. I'm in charge of sustainability at Aalto University and also chairing the Aalto SDG network, so working closely with the SDGs within our university. And hopefully by this presentation I will give you a few ideas on how we have approached and are approaching the SDGs and how we can connect and also implement the activities you will be suggesting to the city of Helsinki, because I really want to make the world a bit better place. Not only teach about it, but also walk the talk. And I noticed I cannot make the video work, the introductory video about the Sustainability Hub, but nevertheless I think we will go forward. And in one sentence, the idea of the Sustainability Hub is to connect our research activities, our teaching activities, as well as campus and societal outreach, and make it a better place. So this is a very important collaboration for me, and looking forward to have the ideas from you. So why is Aalto working on the SDGs? And I suppose you've got already a one-week intro to the SDGs, so know more about that. Agenda 2030, no more, no less than a better world for all of us, a better future. And it suits well with our core values, and it also supports our strategy. And they are also becoming more and more important within EU funding and government budgeting. So there are many good reasons, also very selfish reasons to be interested in these issues. And also, as universities are being audited and evaluated continuously, we aim for better performance. And our stakeholders, like the companies and the cities, consider SDGs relevant. And last but not least, we really want to equip you with better capabilities. And what is it all about? It's a development program until end of this year, and then we will give recommendations on continuation. And they should become, we are renewing the strategy after 2020. And this is the research finance view is very important for the university. And then we do teaching and research. And this is, I will add this course to the list of activities. It's great to be here. And then other activities. We have opened the UN Technology and Innovation Lab just now in Otaniemi in A-Grid 5. And then we are working on the research and teaching and integrating to our reporting as well as campus life and the assessments, as I mentioned. And then Aalto is a very wealthy foundation too, so how we invest our money. I would like to see us getting rid of the coal business and so on. So this is to show how we are committed. Our president, Ilkka Niemelä, signed the Global SDG Accord last February. And by signing, we commit to implement SDGs in all our activities. And here's a few other links. So we created a working group. Well, not that spectacular, kind of a basic approach to the issue. And I'm chairing it, and we have academic staff, administrative staff, a bit more people than there in the picture. And here's a few links, and you all with the Aalto access, you can enter our wiki page, and there's quite a few slide sets and so on if you want to take a look deeper into our work. It might be very useful, especially Mika Kuisma's lectures from last spring from the business course. There's a wonderful summary of different companies' approach to SDGs. It's a very useful compilation. So how we are addressing the SDGs on our campuses. Aalto University Campus and Real Estate is in charge of our buildings in Otaniemi and elsewhere. So they have chosen these SDGs especially for our campuses. So we are working, well, I will not go into details about on the buildings, on the mobility, as well as food and so on. So I think this is a very good approach. You have also chosen taking the 5 SDGs for the city of Helsinki. I think that is a very typical one. You cannot work on all the 17 maybe that well. I will not go into this. This is what we have been doing and what we will do within the Aalto context. And then I took the 5 you got, and I would very much later on open the discussion for your ideas and what type of activities you are running on these. And in those slides from Mika's course, we see how different companies have taken individual SDGs and how to approach them. And then I took a few examples to show what kind of approaches different entities might have. So the Harvard School of Public Health, they have chosen some of these, and especially this one might be interesting for you. It's the city of Bristol in UK, which is very, I would say, very green and very sustainable, and they were running actually a program with the University of Bristol and the city together. So they had a cohort of students employed by the city, and they had a 6-month traineeship as part of the city activities. There were actually, it included all the different units of the city. So the students of University of Bristol got a very useful working experience, and then the city a very kind of the fresh and good approach to their sustainability work. And by sustainability work, I mean all the work, all the services what city is responsible for. So they were not within the environmental unit, or they were all over the place, in city planning, in healthcare, in schools, everywhere. And I would very much welcome this type of program with the universities, both Aalto and Helsinki here, and then the city of Helsinki. I would say that would be more than useful for you as well as the city. So that is my hope. This would lead into this kind of collaboration. Then just about the communications, a way to showcase, we were attending, one of our researchers and me were attending a conference in Bristol, and this is how to concretize, how to communicate SDGs. So they had these boxes, and then with each speaker they chose one SDG as a topic to show that this is especially about the SDG number, so and so. I think this is a quite simple but quite effective tool to show. And we have been discussing with other communications that we would use these colorful boxes, colorful squares with our press releases, as well as the course contents we are providing. That, hey, this is about, especially about these 3 SDGs or so. And due to time restrictions, I will not show you this video, and I suppose it doesn't even work. But I would recommend you to watch it today or later on during the course, because in this 2-minute video, Bologna University shows in a very concrete, tangible and understandable way how they are putting SDGs into practice. And I think SDGs has been a success story in communications perspective, and I think they are quite well recognized and quite easily understood, and many entities have taken the challenge and are communicating with them. A very informative video might give some good ideas. And then I would very much welcome our collaboration and take your coursework and put it into practice with Helsinki. And that's why I'm very thankful for Mika for inviting, because I think this list maybe shows a bit of the work we do with the cities, with both Helsinki and other cities in the surrounding areas. And I think if you want to see your work being done by the city, you should link it with these 4, or these, in case of Helsinki, these 3. So about 3 years ago, the cities and the universities created Smart and Clean Foundation. And the aim of the foundation is to create a better environment, better Helsinki metropolitan region. And we have 5 targets, and they are shown there at the Smart and Clean page. It's about circular economy, better services, and more sustainable Helsinki city. And the program is run from here, from Mekeliininkatu, and it's originated from Sitra. If you know Sitra, working very closely on all of the sustainability, I would say, themes. And that I would very much look into if I were you. And then Helsinki don't like to be compared with Espoo, but I would very much welcome you and recommend you to take a look at the activities Espoo is starting to implement. They were chosen as a city of UN's international network. So they have chosen, UN has chosen 25 entities. There's 5 cities from all continents, and Espoo is one of those. So they are an ambassador for the SDGs, how to put them in practice on a city level. So I think Espoo and Helsinki has such a good rivalry and friendship. So you might take some ideas from there. So we have been workshopping also with them and how to work on SDGs. And then Helsinki City Climate Partners. That Aalto signed also the contract with the city mayor, the former one, Jussi Pajunen, before Jan Vapaavuori, about 7-8 years ago. And that Climate Partners Network is run by the city of Helsinki, and the members are from all sectors of the society, companies, universities, NGOs, and so on. And I would very much look into those partners when putting in practice your recommendations. And then hopefully you have also already received from Miikka the link to the Carbon Neutral Helsinki 2035. It's a report, 115 pages, and there it's unfortunately only in Finnish, but certainly in all of the groups you have maybe some Finnish speaking. So that gives you an excellent, I would say, starting point in terms of data collection and what are the city entities responsible for different activities. So take a look at these if you haven't done so yet. And then one more, two more teasers. We are working on the Aalto's future vision, and this last spring there were a group of 5 students making a study, and they found these 5 megatrends that we should take a look into. And I would emphasize that imperative environmental action. And if we want to make action from the environmental point of view, we need to take all the people on board. So there we need the social and cultural understanding. Of course, not to forget the economical issues, but especially we need the people. And the second final teaser that you might find the 17 already very overarching, but how about thinking of, is there lacking something? We are lacking there international, there's only mentioned peace. There's not any military issues, for example. They are missing nuclear arms and that type of issues because they are such a delicate issue on diplomatic circles, as well as maybe to take the hard ones. How about ending the extreme wealth? That might be one of the, but I would challenge you to think of the missing SDG. What do you think is the most important, or do they cover already all of the activities? So be innovative, and I know you are, and especially contact me. We can make them happen also with the City of Helsinki and with as part of the IDBN challenge. Here are the members. You can contact us, and we are also listed there at the wiki page. And here's my contact info. And then in the end of the slide, I have about 3 more slides on different links on SDG commitments and work on how different entities work on the SDGs. So I hope you find it useful, and I wish you a very good course and look into receive your comments and questions. So thanks. I hope.
Thank you, Maria. Sevi, are you ready to take the stage?
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't run too much over time.
Can we take 1 minute of awkward silence while I figure out the technology?
Yes. And
Okay.
do you need slides or?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Is there enough?
Oh, I don't need this anymore. Hi, hi. Can I be seen from the remote? I hope so. Yes. Hey, actually, it's not this one.
Change.
Oh, you have. Okay, yeah. Hey, thank you, Mehdi, for the very interesting and useful resources. I think I would like the slides as well to check those out if possible.
Yes, of course. Did you get the mic? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, 1 more minute of awkward silence. Oh, maybe from here. Yeah. Okay. Hi, great to meet you. May I start with one question? So who thinks this particular course is easy? Okay, no one? Who thinks this particular course is fun and interesting and kind of challenging? Okay, everyone. Great. So I'm here to challenge you into making it even harder. I will need some background first for that. Let's get this out of the way. So who has seen this before? You have seen it because it's in your toilet, right? I just, who knows what it is? Okay. Juan, could you please share with us, with everyone, what it is?
I don't know exactly what it is, but I know it's somehow linked to futurized.
Okay, yeah, that's, would anyone like to take guesses? Okay, well, it's called a chili corn, and it's the symbol of social responsibility at Futurize. And I can tell you, if you're curious about where it came from, I can tell you afterwards. I'll keep the suspense for now. But I could tell you a quick story of how this logo came about. I keep looking at my screen and showing you my screen. Yeah. When this whole thing was started, Teemu, the founder of our program, he was looking for a logo. So this didn't exist. He was looking for a logo, and he was trying to get one of our designers to make one, but he couldn't find because we were all busy. But Teemu is really skilled in Microsoft Paint, so he thought, well, I'll try a strategy. I'll make a really ugly one, and then they will come fix it because they will be, disgusted by it. But the trouble was that this became really popular. It was meant mainly for our developers, and it was quick and popular. And then when finally a designer came, he saw, well, this kind of works, so he made this. Okay, let's continue. Who knows what Futurize is? Okay, okay, great. So not too many, there's something to learn also in these slides. We are a digital consultancy, essentially. So we do projects, we work for other companies, generally bigger, for money. And we have started as a software house, and then we gradually added UI design and then service design, which was a big transformation. And now we have business advisory, tech advisory, cultural trainings, anything that has any kind of relationship with digital and the future we can do. We have quite a few offices around Europe. There's one in Norway, in Oslo, just starting. We are growing quite fast. And, well, yeah, we are over 500 now. We were about 80 when I joined. So you can imagine that's a while ago. But, yeah, we are doing quite well. And we have, as customers, basically big customers. So energy companies like E.ON, Fortum, banks like Nordic, insurance companies, we had Nokia, essentially companies from different industries we target and work with. Now, what is Chilicorn Fund? It's, as I said, it's our corporate social responsibility thing, or half of it at least, and it's essentially projects that we have been doing for good causes. And it works a bit like this, that we collaborate, so people from Futurize collaborate with non-profits. They generally have a problem to solve, and we try to solve it. Quite often we try to use student groups, collaborate in solving the problem, and then sometimes we get partners to chip in with people or money. So by partners I mean maybe funding bodies or our commercial clients. And this is the value creation that we aim to create. We try, so everything that we do aims to benefit the world, because this is what it's all about. This is why we started it. The employees, because this was started by employees and for employees in a way, and Futurize, because we realized that we need to convince everyone in the company that this is a good idea to do. So rather be transparent about that than keep it covered. Okay, some of the projects that we've been doing. Anyone know Startup Refugees, the organization? No. So what they do is they try to give work and learning opportunities to refugees as soon as possible after they enter the country. So instead of them waiting 2 years or more for a decision before being able to do anything, they try to engage them as soon as possible. So they go there in the centers, they collect work profiles, they put the work profiles in their database, and then they do matchmaking. So they have like hundreds of companies in their network, and they do matchmaking. And well, when we met them, excuse me, I have to drink some water. When we met them, they had this tool that was put together over 2 days, which was working wonders for being done in 2 days. So the tool was covering all their needs, but then it was really also a huge bottleneck to their work. So we made for them a proper tool that they can collect the data, they can collect clean data using forms. Refugees can have a CV generated from that data immediately after they fill in the work profile. And then they can do their work much better because they have proper search functionality. So instead of looking through Excel sheets, line by line, they enter a search and do matchmaking like that. So that's one project. Another one, sorry. So another one is this one. Safer Globe had been collecting data on arms exports from Finland to the whole world for 10 years, and it had finally become to take interest from politicians, but still it was in PDF format, so they were only distributing it on paper. So we worked with them to make an interactive visualization, and you can find it online. And now any journalist, any politician, any arms producer can go there and check the facts about arms exports. And this also received very good feedback from top-level politicians and journalists and even arms producers. I have this and I'm using the keyboard. Last year we built a robot from scratch. There's this InMov robot specification available open source, made by a French designer. So we built one based on that, and this year we have had the first proper project with it, trying to test if robots could be used to teach children with autism assistive sign language, so to help their communication. And then finally, this is UNICEF for SOS Children Village. This is just launching in 1 or 2 weeks now. There is this problem that young people who have been in childcare, so how is it called, childcare? I always forget the term, but so who have been customers of the state in child protection, they tend to create the same situation in their own lives. So their own children tend to end up in the same situation. So they are trying to break this cycle, And they are doing it by mentoring. So they match mentees with mentors from the same background to try to give them support when they establish a family, right? And we are helping with a very basic app for making the first step anonymous, so that they don't have to make a huge step to get in touch, but they can go there and be anonymous and start getting advice. Okay, so these are some examples. I needed them as background for the coming points. What makes a good project? What makes a good project? For you, for example, in this course. I know we're in Finland, but I'm really asking. There in the back was the first.
Yeah, some sort of direction.
Direction?
Yeah, so you have some sort of goal that you want to reach.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, for me it would be if our project actually can be applicable to the situation. It doesn't just end up as some slide on PowerPoint.
Awesome. That's the final goal, right? That's you are here for the impact, or at least we are here for the impact. Yeah.
Maybe some fundamental base of research, so that you did your research build them into building on actual data.
Yeah. So you have good grounding, right? You're not just imagining things. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. I'll have a list of things which I made looking at our projects. So please take what you find useful from this. I think most of this applies to you. If not in this project, maybe in the next one, but I think this one as well. So, of course, you know this already, right? You need to have the right problem. And I've understood that you've been doing that the first week. So hopefully now you all have problems worth solving. Highly important. We had a selection process actually last year when we launched with a bigger bang. And we had some projects that we naturally had to say no to because they just weren't good enough in terms of problem that they were addressing. Even though in itself it was relevant, there were just projects that had bigger potential for impact. So this is really important, but you know that. And of course it needs to have a good solution, right? If you have the right problem but you don't have the right solution, if it's not validated, if it's not proven that it can work, then it's going to be really, really difficult. And we've had those situations as well. Okay, maybe our kind of approach was that we were asking for solutions as pitches instead of trying to solve the problem, but we did have situations that they had the right problem but not the right approach, so we just couldn't go forward. It was too complicated for our setup. Okay, so these are the obvious ones, I think. Let's continue. Small scope. So for us, this played a huge role. So you saw the startup refugees case. We were building their core tools. Core tools are really expensive to build. Luckily, they had really huge impact in their work, so the impact for our project was also big. But I would think twice now taking a project of that size in the future, because it was just really hard for us to execute. We have limited resources. We are not the main business at Futurice, obviously. So yeah, we have to think really carefully when we take big projects. We prefer like the ARMS report, ARMS data report visualization, much easier to do. It was 2 or 3 months with 3 people because it's just visualizing. With startup refugees, we had privacy, which was huge, protecting the data, lots of things to consider. So scope. Strong ownership. It's easy when you're a student. It's easy to be, or at least it was for me, that okay, we are creative, someone will take this forward, but it doesn't work like that. Like if you don't take it forward, if you don't find a strong ownership for the project, it will not go anywhere. It's kind of obvious, but that's what we look in our project, that okay, is there someone who's really owning this project on our partner side? Do they know what they're doing? we will not take any projects forward ourselves. We don't have the resources. So it has to have strong ownership. And that's why it's important to take Meri's hints and resources and do find partners. If you have time, do find partners, because that will give substance to your projects. Funding and staffing. Yeah, in the real world you have to cover these, and they are sometimes difficult. We, for instance, we have to look for funding for our projects, at least to scale them up, so we have a limited buffer what we can do without looking for outside funding, but then we have to find more. And then staffing is of course really difficult to execute. And for any project you will have this, that where do you get money, where do you get people, how do you ensure continuity for the team, for example, and all these kinds of questions. Now this is the final one. Kind of obvious, but really hard to do. So how do you know you've succeeded, right? The very, very minimum is to at least ask the question, how are we going to measure this? Is it qualitative metric? Okay, qualitative data? Is it quantitative? How do we know we've succeeded? But on top of that, in a real project, who's going to do the measuring? How do we ensure it's going to get done? Is it natural for the organization to do it, or do we have to set up some sort of process for it? We have to prove impact all the time, right? Or at least we have this question on the table all the time, that how do we know what impact we're creating through the work that we do? Okay, so this is what I had. Problem worth solving, good solution, small scope, strong ownership, funding and staffing, and how do you know you succeeded? There's probably more, but that's what I came up with based on our experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Sevi. Can we actually, now for the ropes.
Stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I will come out.
Okay.
I hope everybody gets roasted, not only the two of us.
No, it's only you. Sorry. Can we switch the mic?
Yeah. You can have.
So now it's your time to get tough on these two experts.
Or can I use this mic? Or
No, that's
no. Yeah, that's just for the remote, right? Or what?
Yeah, well, this is also the mic.
Ah, okay, we take one. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Aren't they those?
They are different systems.
I would. Is it working? Yeah. Now it's green light. So, is Copenhagen hearing us?
Mm-hmm.
Good. I would pick up on the last question you had, that how do you know you've succeeded? So based on my experience on projects on sustainability and SDGs, is you have touched the right issues when you find resistance, and very kind of hard resistance and attitudes, and because if you would be working only on the easy issues, positive kind of win-win battles, I think they have been fought already. So the hard ones are left. So probably then you have found the right issues, the right people when it's getting difficult. And I would say that's the only way to reach some results that turn out to be positive and interesting when you find those tough issues. But let's open up the floor. Who's the first to start? Maybe I hope you could pick up one of the cases you have, or one of the SDGs, or how would you start? Please.
So what I find like challenging right now is, like you said, the scope is very important, like the scope of the project. And we all have topics that are very involving, so they make you want to really have an impact. But after all, we are pretty much limited to work in 1 week. So maybe do you have any tips on how to use those or tackle with such a small scope, such a big problem most efficiently?
Well, I think one thing, just decide, right? There's this kill your baby, or how is it? Be ready to kill your babies. You know, just be ready to let some good ideas aside and just decide on something, and realize that time passes and there's absolutely no progress in, after a while at least, in fighting, going back and forth that, okay, is it this one, is it this one, is it this one? If you need to introduce more constraints to help you decide. For example, can you find a right partner, or, you know, introduce constraints?
Maybe my answer would be, in such a short time, while you are working, take just one case or one aim you look into, and by solving one specific question, you will address the whole kind of area of the problematic issues around the. But rather than taking, I have an example. So city of Vantaa was working on their climate policy and how to address climate change within the context of schools. And they had different approaches, different teams from different schools. And one with the best results and outreach, and also I would say tangible results, was the one that chose the radiators. They really only chose the radiators as to get the message through to the pupils, to the staff, and how to adjust the radiators. It sounds very simple and stupid, but how the room temperature is ideal, how it can be, the air quality is good, how we can save energy by using a little bit less energy. And by that project, they addressed kind of the whole question of climate change and energy efficiency and so on. And they got the pupils and staff members involved, rather than, you know, kind of addressing the whole topic from up to the bottom, rather from bottom up, and then understanding it very thoroughly, and also saving energy. Yeah.
Excellent one, Mary. Yeah, and this is exactly connected to this kill your babies. I think there is at least a small conflict between your feeling of being creative in this course and being real, right? Because a simple idea like that may seem like, okay, but what will the others think? Like, we didn't go deep enough, you know? It's so superficial. But I mean, if that's what works, that's what works. And it's more about execution and doing it really well. And one thing that I remembered, you will be taught prototyping, I've understood, next week. That's obviously a constraint of the course. They can't teach you all at once. But I'm a huge believer in prototyping, and by that I mean not just creating a prototype, but finding answers to your questions through creating something all the time. So if you have a question you're not sure about, just you know, either create something that gets you the answer, or do some research. You know, maybe there's Facebook groups talking about this. Maybe there's some sort of validation that you can use to find the answer. And you can do this all the time, and it's not so it doesn't have to be time consuming.
Sorry. I'm just taking up the 5 SDGs you have chosen to look at those ones. So thinking of, I would find the 3 first ones very challenging. The no poverty, gender equality, reduced inequalities within the city context. Because I think in the mindset in this region is kind of hesitant that do we have those, because we are a paradise in terms of gender balance and so on. So I think it would be a very useful task to show the maybe statistics to prove your message, and look at those sub-indicators of the SDGs. I hope you have been introduced those sub-indicators of each SDG. So I guess the city officials are quite familiar with sustainability issues within the cities and the communities, as well as responsible consumption and production. I think each one of us has an idea of those. But how have you found out how to address those ones? I'd love to hear from you. Have you started with the specific SDGs? No one dares. How about Mika? Well, no, there's a hand up.
My group had the SDG poverty. And I think all of us, we were going to some official organization that was tackling around this problem. For example, we visited a place where long-time unemployment people finds a new thing to do in life and are helped. But then what I see, or what is our challenge, I think, so far, is that what you already said, that the topic is quite broad, and that poverty includes a lot of things, like not only money-wise, but maybe also poverty, health, with health problems, or social poverty, or whatever. It could be anything. So I wanted to ask you, how do you validate these different, like if you come up with different ideas and you think, okay, poverty could mean this or poverty could mean this, how do you validate the different approaches, and do you maybe have a tip for us how to, it's not only about poverty, it fits to all of the topics here, but how to find out which one is worth working on and which ones are maybe not that interesting or lead to like a dead end?
Well, maybe a quick round of telephone calls with your schedule, and interviewing a few officials or NGO representatives. That what do you find the most burning topics, and maybe approaches you are missing, or the activity they would love to see taking place and happening. So by calling people would be quite a nice or effective way of approaching, rather than setting up a meeting and take a look at the web pages. You don't find anything about poverty in web pages. And then by communicating the challenge or the problem, I would use powerful statistics, and especially maybe individuals and pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe interviewing the doctors, giving giving nurturing the paperless people, for example, in the city. And either taking the individual approach or then showing by pictures all what are these guys without any shelter, you know, somewhere. Maybe hard to find or a bit scary, but most of them are probably friendly. How do you see?
Yeah, I think you have covered everything, Mehdi. I second that. Maybe one idea that you might use, some themes are very well covered because they are more appealing, more, I don't know, sexy is it right word, but there may be themes that are less covered but equally important if you really think about it. So for instance, I was surprised that the arms report projects that we saw, the people from Safer Globe, they were surprised that we had picked them because they thought, well, this is not important to anyone. How would futurized employees pick this subject? It's not sexy at all. And the reason we had picked it is that we had people, you know, having sessions and really thinking about these items, issues and discussing. So it wasn't superficial, the selection process. But maybe that's one tip that.
Thank you so much.
I don't expect you to have an answer for this question, but any insights would be good. This is more from a personal struggle I have, that I understand the need of focus, and I understand the need of like starting like a lot of small initiatives or small cuts on the big frame help solving the problem. But when talking about sustainability, one problem I see is that the problems are so big and so tangled with each other that many times you see like really good, well-intended initiatives that end up like solving one small problem here and causing another problem on the other side because the problem is so spread out and so well connected. So it happens to me, and I see happens with other people trying to work in sustainability, is that you end up spending so much time researching and trying to cover the whole picture, so you don't end up doing that, and is a little bit counterproductive because in the end you could be working in this one little problem. And I know that this kind of program and many other Aalto initiatives is all about getting everybody talking about the same thing. So maybe different areas can work together and all, but still I find really hard to choose this like a small piece of the problem to solve without overarching and trying to see the whole thing. Yep.
You can start.
You're absolutely right. It is like that, and I don't really have an answer. Of course, what I would do or what I have done is look at organizations who I think are doing good work and they need to exist, and see how we could help them. So for instance, now we started a case with Kierrätyskeskus. Do you know Kierrätyskeskus? It's this recycling center, and it's non-profit. Yeah. So yeah, but that doesn't fix the big problems, but it's a start. Maybe another idea, if you see that there's that problem, could you bring transparency to it? Could you bring transparency to the system, and could the project be all about that? Because now, for instance, I wouldn't know where. Okay, maybe I haven't done enough research, but I don't know where to start. If I want to contribute, like you, I don't know where to start. But maybe there are many facing that problem, and maybe the system needs some transparency and the big picture. And maybe that would be it without having to solve anything. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that question is somewhat always present in the work we do. And I think one needs to grasp well the big picture and understand the interconnectivity, and then move on. Because there are so many improvements we can make on both on individual and societal level, and on an entity level, if we think of cities or companies, that we can see so many challenges and things that need to be done and that are not that counterproductive. So when we are ready with all the kind of the good and important stuff, then we can also think, kind of map even the more detailed and more complex issues. But I think only by action we can battle the challenge of sustainability. There's no other way than making a change, and still also understanding what it might cause. So I think action is the only way to kind of attack the problem. And very easily we can get frustrated and depressed by the complexity. So I really wish you all the courage with your work. And by attacking the problems, we really understand the magnitude even better. And let's not get depressed. I think, is Mika time running up, or can we take one more comment or question?
Yeah,
yes,
one more
there's
question.
in the back row.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, this is just a very, well, I don't know if it's basic or not, but has there been any attempts to actually map out or see the progress in fixing these SDGs? And a follow-up to that is, how's Finland doing in that mapping of like progress? And let's say you can't really put a percentage on like gender equality or lack of poverty or anything. Well, you can, but is there any way of like saying that, okay, this one is done, let's move on to the next one?
Yeah. There are plenty of ways how this work or these calculations have been tried to made. And one is planetary boundaries, done by Stockholm Resilience Center and Johan Rockström and his colleagues. They have defined 9 boundaries, and most of them we have over exceeded the limits of the Earth. And then about SDG performance, I will send you an invitation. We have 11th of October, 2 best global experts on this are visiting us and giving a speech at the University of Helsinki. We organized that together with them. And one way of calculating the success is the donut economics. So it's as simple as a donut. It's Kate Raworth from UK, researchers. So the donut is the inside, the whole, is defining social sustainability, healthcare, education, and so on, and how well you are doing that and filling the whole. And then the donut itself are the ecological boundaries. And in that respect, the nation in the world performing best is Vietnam. They are not exceeding the ecological boundaries that much, and they are performing quite well from the social point of view. And Finland is, you know, some of the worst pupils in the class when it comes to consumption figures and ecological footprint. but we are doing very well from the social perspective. But I will provide you these links, donut economics, the SDG reporting. These calculations have been made, and now Times Higher Education will rank universities in SDG performance next April. But that will come later than your course. But it's been done, and there's some powerful statistics. And we can see the developed countries are performing badly.
Yeah, obviously you know much more than me on this topic. Was there a link from UN with statistics on all the SDGs? I think there was. They're collecting it somewhere. I don't know by heart, but I have it in my bookmarks. Yeah. So they have also from Finland. They don't have for all SDGs, but they have for what's measurable. Maybe you know.
Yeah, actually that is funny how well cities and companies have adopted the SDGs, because they have been created for nations. So nations, well, roughly the 200 of them, they are supposed to report on the performance on SDGs. Not companies, neither NGOs or so, but the world has been keen to adopt this agenda. So I think it's a very important tool to find equality between the nations and how we share the resources we have. It's very unequal how we share.
Mary, Sevi, thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
And Mary, if you can, if you have anything to share, if you can email them to me, and then I can relay.
Yes, actually one more. I will share the event we have coming up 11th of October, and by end of October we have a Climathon competition. It's a course run by Climate Kick program, 24-hour hackathon on sustainable food systems, and CS students and IDBM students, they get 1 credit point also if you will attend that hackathon. So hopefully we can share that with you, so you can think of attending also that hackathon. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you so much. Let's take a 15-minute break. Some fresh air, tea, coffee, refreshments. Where is that? Downstairs.